Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Davidson-Davie Community College Coaches Show with Matt Ridge. I'm Miles Poole. We're at the Eatery in downtown Lexington. I want to thank you for tuning us in tonight and for a big turnout here at the Eatery. Great job turning out, supporting the Storm basketball program here. Also want to thank Jared Bowman for getting us on the air as always, Brandon Mullis, camera work, and Matt Jacobs for hosting this event on the Thursday nights here. This has been great, Coach.
I've really enjoyed it. Miles, you've done a great job. I'd like to thank Jared for all his hard work behind the scenes, and of course, Coach Mullis for filming and everybody that's makes this happen.
Well, we got a big show for you, a lot to cover tonight. I want to remind you that you can, we'll follow here via Facebook. You can text us, and we will try to get that on the air. If you have a question for Coach or a comment for the team as they embark on their trip to play in the national tourney next week, you're welcome to send that in, and we'll try to get that on the air for you. Coach, let's jump right into, also want to remind everyone, we got a very special guest tonight, Jeremy Ritter, a former player for the Storm, going to join us in just a little bit too, and we'll talk about his time and what he's doing afterwards too. So we're glad to have Jeremy here.
It's always great to have former players back. I stay in touch with Jeremy. He's not just a great player. More importantly, he's a really good person. So I'm excited about Jeremy being with us tonight.
Well, we guys have played a lot of games in the last couple of weeks. We'll cover the last week of the season, the regular season, you guys winning the regular season, and the last two games at home at Brinkley, which was great. So let's talk about those two last home games, the first one being against Fayetteville Tech, a 90-67 win for you. This was a team the Trojans coach had beat you earlier in the season on the road, 97-80. What were the differences then and when you faced them there at the end of the regular season?
Well, the night we made the trip to Fayetteville, we had no sense of urgency, Miles. Defensively, we were late rotating. We were giving up wide open threes, and they shot, I believe, an incredible 85% from the three the first half. We dug ourselves such a big hole we couldn't climb out of it. I think we were down 20 at half. So at one point we were down as much as almost 30. So I think in my career at Davidson, that's only happened one other time in 14 years. So that's a tribute to Coach Hurd and what he's doing there at Fayetteville. He does a phenomenal job recruiting. And they were a tough opponent to play because they're really balanced. They got shooters. They got length. And if you look at their win-loss record, they beat some really good teams in our league, not just us. So we knew coming back to Brinkley it was going to be a tough game. Brian does a great job preparing his group, and we had a little bit more sense of urgency that second time around. We did the first time around. Our bread and butter is our half-court man, and we played a lot harder and smarter defensively that game.
You got big games off the bench in that win at Brinkley, two freshmen, J.J. Williams and D.J. Suggs. Let's talk about those two guys for just a minute. I'd like to know your thoughts on how you see these two guys and how they've developed as you've gone deeper into the season.
DJ's had a bunch of games this year where he's hit 5 and 6 threes. He's played more minutes this year than JJ, but the last half of the season, I could not be prouder than J.J. Williams. He's gone from playing very, very few minutes to playing now 10, 15 minutes a game. He's hit some big-time threes in big-time games, not just Fayetteville Tech, but on the road at Sand Hills. I believe he hit 4 or 5 threes. So his confidence right now is really high, especially offensively. And he continues to develop defensively, keeping the ball in front of him and keeping it out of the paint. So he's grown as a leader as well. So both DJ and JJ are big-time players for us.
After that defeat on the 24th of February at Fayetteville Tech, you guys have gone on a roll since then, 12-game winning streak. Did you guys talk much about that loss to the team? And in your mind, was that a defining moment for this year for you guys?
I haven't really thought about that, to be honest with you. I do think that game certainly woke our kids up, and it made them realize that if you don't bring your A game, anybody in our league can beat you. And that certainly happened that night, and we certainly used that film to teach from. I did not do a very good job of having our team well prepared to play not just hard and smart, but together offensively. We took some poor shots. So we really used that film to teach, and our guys really did a great job of responding to what we were using that film to teach them. And that's that you got to play hard, smart, and together and take better shots. And defensively, you got to play with a sense of urgency every night.
Well, after the Fayetteville Tech win, you finished out the regular season winning against Catawba Valley Community College. You beat the Cougars 78-62. That's a night you had to play without Nas, so you were without the big guy. But you got big games out of Javion Jones and L.J. Rogers, who's here tonight. Talk about that game and how much of those two, the leadership of those two sophomores has meant to this team down the stretch.
Well, both those guys lead in different ways. You know, LJ is like one of the most poised young men I've ever coached. He never gets too high, he never gets too low, so he can be that calming influence on the court when we need it. And Javion uses his emotion to make him a better player. Usually, when he channels that inward feeling in the right direction, he's done a great job this year of leading us by example, not just on game day, but in practice. There's nobody that plays harder than Javion Jones. LJ's come such a long way since he was a freshman defensively. Now we put him sometimes on the other team's best player. Last year, there were times I was afraid to put him in the game because I didn't trust him defensively. So I'm so proud of both those young men. They are both big-time players on both sides of the ball, and they're both complete players. They played really hard defensively. They played really smart. And Javion, the last half of the season, has really learned he can affect the game offensively without scoring.
Yep.
Actually, there was a game 2 weeks ago where he didn't even score, but we put up 110 points. And when you're arguably your best player doesn't score and you put up 110, you know, we're doing something right. And I told Javion after the game, he only took 3 or 4 shots, but he had a heck of a game. And there's so many different ways Javion Jones can affect the game other than scoring. His ball pressure, his rebounding, his energy is so contagious. And LJ's the same way. But both of those guys are super players, but more importantly, they're better people than players.
Well, that Catawba Valley game, the first game that you were scheduled to face them in the regular season got canceled due to COVID. So this was the first time that you had played them this year. They were the only team to blemish your record last year. So 31-1, that one, they hung on you guys. Did that motivate the players that were on last year's team?
Our sophomores mentioned it. You know, I don't know if the freshmen really understood how painful that loss was last year. They weren't with us, but I think the sophomores probably would tell you that they were a little bit more motivated. But I try to approach every game the same, whether we're playing a scrimmage game in October or we're playing in the Sweet 16 in Danville, Illinois. For me, it's the same prep every game, and that's exactly the same way we're going to approach this game next Tuesday, the same way we approached a regular season game.
Well, Kip Childress is watching, by the way. We're getting a few blips here on Facebook. Benita Jones, a way to go, young man with the strong arms. So thank you guys for tuning us in. So you win the regular season. Now that gets you in the national tourney, right? That's you're automatically in.
Correct.
And it also gives you the #1 seed for the district tourney, which is huge because as long as you continue to win, the higher seed gets the home game, right? So game 1 in the district tourney, you faced 6-seeded Bryan and Stratton, a team that and they've had some big wins on the season. They beat Fayetteville Tech, they beat Sand Hills. They played you guys close mid-March, and you came away with a 3-point victory. I think Isaiah Pruitt, sitting over here, hit a 3-point shot at the buzzer to win. So, you know, a tough team, even though the record was 8-8. What challenges did the Bobcats pose for you in that quarterfinal game?
Well, that was another game we had to play without Nas. And if you look at their roster, you'll see they're long, they're athletic. And so they got guys that can go in there and rebound the basketball at a high level. So we knew that was going to be a tough draw for a quarterfinal game without Nas. But I was so proud of the Chase Mebbins, the Jarvis Tillmans. Javion had to guard some bigs. I mean, Javion's 6'1". He was guarding 6'7" kids. And we always tell the guys it's not how big you are, it's how big you play. So, you know, our kids really responded and were really physical. Jarvis and, of course, Tim Boulware and Chase and Javion did a great job of banging with their bigs. And then they just set so many doggone ball screens. You have to be able to guard the ball screen action that they do to beat Bryant Stratton. So we worked on that a lot in practice, and our guys did a great job of trapping their ball screens and rotating out of it.
Well, you mentioned it was the playing without Nas again for the second game. Your team responded. Your team's got that next man up mentality, right?
Well, they have to. I mean, at the end of the day, we tell our guys, work while you wait, and when your opportunity arises, be ready for it. And the Chase Mebbins, the Jarvis Tillmans, you know, those guys that hadn't played a ton of minutes, they were ready to play that night and took advantage of it. And since then, their minutes have continued to go up, and we're going to need them because to win 4 games in 5 days in Danville, Illinois, if you're only playing 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, it's tough to do it, especially the style we play, Miles.
Well, you get big games from, again, 2 your sophomore leaders, L.J. Rogers, Javion Jones. Isaiah Pruitt in that game chipped in 13 points. He was 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, and he had 6 assists. Talk a little bit about – he's sitting here, so don't embarrass him. Talk a little bit about Isaiah's development as this season's progressed.
Well, you know, Isaiah hasn't played, correct me if I'm wrong, Isaiah, organized basketball in 3 years. Yeah. And so, you know, at the beginning of the season, you know, when you hadn't played organized basketball in 3 years since high school, it's different than playing at the YMCA. You know, you have to think so fast to play our style. And most people don't really know this unless you're in our inner circle, but we're really organized on both ends. And so from the beginning of the season to now, he's really developed leadership on the court and seeing the big picture, not just his shoes, but what everybody else is supposed to be doing. And to play the point guard position, Jeremy will tell you, I'm sure Isaiah would echo this, you have to be an extension of me or you're not going to be in the game very long. So Isaiah has done a much better job of being collectively responsible for everybody on the court on both sides of the ball. And we tell the guys, I think Coach Jay says it best, you know, some people have to eat the pizza, some people have to deliver it. And Isaiah has figured out throughout the season when to do both because he can score it. I mean, he averaged, I think, 28 points a game in high school. He can really, really shoot it, but he also has learned he can't go in there and challenge 6'9" kids at our level. So I'm proud of how he's developed, not just physically, but especially between his ears.
So next up is then a semifinal game, and it's again against a very familiar opponent, the 4th seed Catawba Valley team that you played a week before comes in to face you. And they had big win at Lewisburg to advance this game for them. This could have been one of those trap-type games for you guys where you've beaten this team now. You beat them pretty handily the week before, and maybe a Sandhills matchup coming up next. But I thought your team came out probably more focused than I've seen them come out all year long, so it wasn't a trap. A question for you, how much do you guys, you and your coaches, talk to the players about, number one, respect for every opponent and really solely focusing on that game at hand? Don't look ahead.
Well, the respect all, fear none mentality is something we do talk about. But the guys, when they keep getting patted on the back by people in the community, you know, even people at the college, their classmates, one of my biggest fears is for them to subconsciously develop, you know, a big head and approach the game a little bit differently than they would otherwise. So we try to get the guys to understand you better come to practice every day to get better. Because if you're not, somebody somewhere is, and when you meet them, you're going to lose. And it's not just about beating the next opponent. It's about getting better every day so you are at your best in March or April. So that's the ultimate goal, is to continue to get better, and we feel like the wins and losses will come. Now, Catawba Valley was coming off upsetting Lewisburg, and I say upsetting because most people called it upset. I didn't see it as an upset because I knew what Catawba Valley is capable of. Their kids play so physical. I mean, probably one of the most physical teams in the country. So we knew our post players were going to have to step up and be physical. That was the game we got Nas back, I believe, which was obviously a big boost for us. But again, our bench continues to develop. The Jarvis Tillmans, the Chase Mebbins, and those guys are helping us coming off the bench and defending the post, rebounding and blocking out. Things that don't always show up in the newspaper, but it helps you win.
Well, you win that game 110-80. Big nights for DJ Suggs and L.J. Rogers. I think 23 for DJ and maybe 24 for LJ. Those guys put on a three-point shooting clinic in the first half. Most of those points were in the first half alone.
I think they had 40 at halftime.
They had 40
between
between the two of them at halftime.
They were really, really filling it up. They put on a show the first half.
Now, between the two of them, they shot like 62% for the game, which is phenomenal. Your team shot or attempted 39 three-pointers in that game, which is about 10 above your average. Were you comfortable with the shot selection that night?
Well, as long as the right guys shooting the right shots when they're open, I'm okay with it. You know, you can make a bad shot. And we've told the kids all year, if you want to get the green light and be able to shoot more threes, then get your tail in the gym and become a better shooter. And we have 3 guys on our team that's earned that green light. And 2 of those you just mentioned. So, it's no secret formula to become a shooter. Shooters aren't born, they're made. So if you want to become a great shooter like those 2 guys you just mentioned, get your tail on the gun and get better, and they have.
Well, game 3, the big one, this is for the finals, and it's against Sand Hills. They come in. You guys are 2nd in the country. They're 7th in the country. You've already beaten them twice. And I know it's tough to beat a good team 3 times in the same season. And this is a big rivalry. Both of you had already qualified for the tournament, but I read somewhere where Sand Hills said, we want to earn our way in, which means we want to win this district tournament. Talk about how you prepped your team for a game of that magnitude.
Well, we prep every game the same way, Miles. I mean, playing Sand Hills in the district finals, honest to goodness, I approach that game the same way as if it were, a JV 4-year school. I mean, we don't play any of those anymore. But, for me personally, at the end of the day, it's a game. And we don't want to make it bigger than what it is. Obviously, the rivalry Sand Hills is very heated. It's a fun, great atmosphere, especially in a non-COVID year because the gym would have been standing room only. Mike does a phenomenal job of getting his kids to play extremely hard. He's a great recruiter. So we knew coming into that district finals, the kids knew, I didn't have to say anything to them, it was going to be a heated battle. And we tell our guys all the time, the coolest heads win the hottest games. And I was really, really, really proud of how down the stretch we played with such poise offensively and executed some things that we really worked on. And we got some easy buckets out of some stuff that we had been working on. So we really believe the best conditioned team will win in the end. And down the stretch, I felt like our conditioning really helped us.
You had all 5 of your starters scored in double figures. Very balanced scoring for the game. Do you see that, or you feel like that was probably your best team game of the year?
It was one of them, but I don't think it was our best defensive effort. This team, for us to win a national championship, we have to continue to put our pride, most of our pride on that end, because we're not talented enough just to roll the balls out and try to outscore you. We've got to bend our knees and get stops. And our guys, for the most part, the last several months have really bought in on that end. And if we continue to get better these next week and a half, who knows what can happen in Danville.
Javion had a big game in what could be his last game, as a sophomore on what could be his last game on the floor at Brinkley Gym. I know there's some rules that they're allowing an additional year, so all that's undecided yet. But I thought another player, just you and I mentioned it after the game, I thought Tim Boulware played a really big game against Sand Hills because Nas was in a little foul trouble in the second half, and I thought Boulware gave you guys some really good minutes. I think he had 10 points and maybe eight rebounds. So Tim had a really good game there. It's good to see him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well.
Nas didn't play but 12 or 13 minutes.
Yep.
I mean, he picked up his 3rd foul at the last minute of the half. His stupid coach put him back in the game with two fouls. I trusted him, and, he got his 3rd foul. So coming into the second half, he got his 4th pretty quick, so we set him all the way to the last 4 minutes. So I kept looking down that bench, asking myself, who can go in there and bang with Sand Hills bigs and get us boards? And I challenged the guys at halftime. I said, the 3 ways they beat you is in transition, offensive rebounding, and getting turnovers. We're not turning the ball over. We're checking one of the 3 boxes. We got to check the other 2. And at some point in the second half, I remember taking Tim out, and he had given up an offensive rebound layup, and he had been held, and him and I had somewhat of a heated exchange on the bench. And I went and sat back down, and a couple minutes later, I went down there and challenged him and put him back in, and he responded, Miles. I was so proud of how he went in there and just was snagging rebounds, rebounding the ball out of his area. So I told him later that night, I called him when I got home and said, man, I'm so, so proud of you. We would not have won this game without you.
Well, a lot of sophomores potentially playing their last game at Brinkley. That's got to be emotional for you because you're vested in these kids and young men, and you think so much of them. So, having that maybe be their last game has got to be tough on you.
Miles, they're the sophomores 51-3 in 2 years.
Yep.
But more important than that for me personally is the relationship piece. One of the reasons I'd like to coach at a 4-year is because I want to be with these same guys for 4 years. It's hard after 2 years to let them go, just because, not because we're winning games with them. We can go out and recruit other kids. But the relationship piece, having Javion or, any of the sophomores, Nas, et cetera, move on, I want what's best for them in the offseason, honest to goodness. And if they want to move on to a 4-year, I really want to help them make that happen. But it's hard to let them go because I love them so much.
Yeah. Well, I want to say after that ball game Saturday, I sat back, and we were still on the air, but I watched you guys. Take pictures and celebrate and cut the nets down. And it wasn't just you and the coaches with the team. It was their families. It was your family. It was members of the school. It was fans. And I felt proud to have witnessed that moment, because it was not about winning a basketball game. It really was about sharing a good time with family.
Right, and that's what it's all about. And there's no better feeling for me as a coach to see these young men that have invested so much for one goal to climb up a ladder and cut down nets and see those smiles on those faces. I mean, there is no better feeling.
Well, speaking of family, we've got a member of the Storm family that's with us tonight. Jeremy Ritter is our special guest. And, Jeremy, you can grab that mic. I think it's live, isn't it?
Testing. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. You're good. So, Jeremy, can you tell our listeners where you're from and how you ended up attending and playing at DDCC?
Yeah, so basically I'm from Alabama. Switch out his cord.
Okay. All right, we're going to switch out Jeremy's cord. And while we're doing that, let's get somebody up here. Where's Mark Beck? So we'll fix Jeremy's mic and we'll sit here and chat with Mark Beck. Mark, tell us how you're involved with Storm basketball.
I've been involved for about 10 years or so now. I run the shot clock. I've traveled a lot with Matt in the earlier years, watching a lot of kids over North Carolina.
What is as you look back over those 10 years, what's your greatest memory or moment about Storm basketball?
It's probably all the family, what everybody is talking about, what Storm basketball is this family. I mean, it's just a way around here with all of them, just like Jeremy coming back. I mean, before every game, he'd always throw me the jersey. I'd hold, or his warm-up every game. I guess that was his thing he had to do, But it's just little things over the years.
Coach Ridge just told me earlier when we started doing this at the beginning of the year, he told me about the Storm family. And as the season has gone on and chatting with folks like yourself, I've seen that and witnessed it. And it's amazing. It makes you certainly want to be a part of something like this. Now, I got to ask you, as a shot clock operator, because I caught myself doing it as an announcer this year. Do you ever get caught up in a ball game and forget to do what you're there for?
I used to, but now it's I can do it with not thinking. Every once in a while you'll miss some, but usually as fast as we play, it makes up for it. So if you hit it too quick and then the ball happens to hit the rim, then they bail you out.
So do you have a favorite player on this year's team?
No, I just like it when they come out aggressive. They come out aggressive and they start draining threes, start running their offense the way they need to, then we're always fine.
So next week, as you, the final question for you, as the team travels up to Illinois, do you have any words of encouragement, advice for them?
Just to play hard. I mean, they've done it all year, is just to play hard and play their game. That's all they need to do.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking some time with us, Mark. It's a pleasure, and again, it's folks like you that follow and support this program and give of your time and your energy and your heart that make it special. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we're good with Jeremy. That was Mark Beck, the shot clock operator. So, Jeremy, we'll get back to your story. How did you become and come to DDCC?
Yeah, I went to high school in Charlotte, Northside Christian Academy. I had a couple offers out of high school. I didn't accept any of them. And I had a guy named Marcus Johnson, somebody I played AAU with back when I was younger. He sent me to Coach Ridge, and I told Coach Ridge when I met him, I said, hey, I'm coming to play on your team. And he said, well, I got 2 guards in front of you, so you might not play much. I said, it doesn't matter, I'm coming. And so I proved to him over the summer that I was worth playing on his team. He's a real guy that if you say he wants defense, that's what he means. And so that's what I had to show him that I could do to get on his team. So that's kind of what brought me here and got me on the team.
So what was your playing experience? What was it like playing for Coach Ridge?
It was 2 different worlds. My freshman year, I was used to a coach being hard on me because growing up, that's what I had. But the expectation of being a point guard and not playing was different. I wasn't a starter back in high school, but I played minutes. So coming in and sitting behind 2 good guards, and Sadiq Bello and Trey Smith, taught me how to be humble and taught me how to compete every day. So when Coach Ridge says you can lose your jersey in practice, he means it. I've seen many a times he flips from blue to gray. So it's every day that you got to come and work, and it's fun. It was fun my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, I went home for a year and I came back. My sophomore year, it was more about business. It was more so, okay, I know what he expects. I know where to be. I know how to be for him, and it's time to go win some games.
So what was your, if you could pick one favorite memory playing for Coach Ridge or the Storm, what would that be?
I guess a recent memory for Coach Ridge, but winning Region 10 for us was a big thing. Cutting down the nets is huge. Obviously he's used to it, but it's something different from each year. Different players, different teams that you have to overcome, different obstacles throughout the year that you have to overcome. And as he said, it's a grind all year. Throughout the summer, we're running, we're putting in the work that no one sees, and you guys come and see it on the days that it's time to show the light. So when we show the lights and we come prepared and we play the best of our abilities, it feels great to be able to record videos of our coach Davie because we cut down the nets. So that's a big thing for us.
So what life lessons did you take away from your experience here?
If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're 14 minutes early, you're late. Definitely understand that. But no matter where you go, you're going to start at the bottom, and it's up to you to choose to grind to the top. And there's opportunities, and there's people out here that give you that opportunity, and you have to seize that moment.
So I'll read you a quote or something that bullet points that Coach Ridge used to identify you, Jeremy. He said, "You're one of the best leaders to have ever played at the college. You're a fierce competitor that continually makes your teammates better." So, of course, Coach speaks very highly of your leadership qualities. Can you talk about your 2 years at the college and what you learned about leadership playing under Coach Ridge?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's an everyday thing. 2 years of being groomed to be the best person, even outside of basketball, teaches you a lot. And then it's just so much easier when it comes to the basketball floor because you do it daily. It's not just on the court where he's saying, hey, what did you do to get better today? So then when you take it to the court, that's natural and God-given. You just work at it every day, just like Coach Ridge would say you do. And it shows when you win by 20 and 30 points because you're more conditioned than everybody, because you paid attention in practice, and the thick books that we got, we learned every play, we learned every defense. And I'm a competitor. I don't like losing. I came from programs that we didn't lose much, so coming into a winning program already, it was a good transition and an easy transition. It's just some kids didn't come from that. Some, not kids because we're all the same age, but some guys didn't come from that. So teaching those, like, hey, this is how you win, this is how you work hard, this is how you stay consistent throughout the year. Even when coach is on you, that's what you need. Because when he's not talking to you, that means he doesn't think you can play on this level anymore. So that's just something that I took with me.
So have you been able to follow the team much this season?
Yeah, I got a couple of games, and especially the last one. I'm selling cars now, so it's definitely kind of hard getting in and out of watching games. But I look at the stats. I mean, it's a Coach Ridge team. We're going to score a bunch of points, and we're going to play a lot of defense. We're going to press you the whole entire game until you don't feel like playing anymore, and then we're going to press you some more. So it was fun playing for him, so I know these guys are having fun doing it too.
So a lot of the guys are here tonight. Any advice or words of encouragement you can give them as they travel next week to play in the national tourney?
Do not run outside of the court. Stay in the court. Do not leave the court for any reason. But other than that, go have fun. I mean, it's an experience we were so close to experiencing that, but we made a couple of mistakes, as humans do. But you guys seize the moment. You won't get another one with this team, these guys, and be the best you can be.
Great advice, Jeremy. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming out to the show and doing that, and for continuing to be certainly a lifetime member of Storm Athletics, Storm Basketball, a very special person. So thank you for that. Any final comment, any final story you want to tell about Coach Ridge before you go? It's your chance now.
Nah, I'm not going to do that to him. He's a great guy. If you want to win championships, come here.
Okay.
Definitely come here.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jeremy. We appreciate you coming out. Thanks for your time. That's Jeremy Ritter, former player at Davidson-Davie County. So now we've got another special guest that's put the headset on. This is not Coach Ridge. This is Jordan Hughes, right?
Yes.
Okay, Jordan. You are a longtime Storm supporter. How did you come to be a Storm supporter, a Storm fan?
Well, Matt and my dad are really good friends. So my dad started watching, and then I started watching, and we just got into it.
You care to share with us your favorite moment over the past decade?
I'm trying to think. Anytime we beat Sandhills is a good time. One time we went down to Sandhills, and we brought my uncle and my cousin with us. And I think that was the time that they sat all the DCCC fans together, and we made them regret it. And that was fun.
So when not in COVID time, but you travel to the away games, right?
Yes.
As many as you can.
We usually do, yeah.
Do you have so that's your favorite moment is beating Sandhills. That's probably a lot of Storm fans' favorite moment. Do you have a favorite player, past or present? I'm going to put you on the spot because a lot of these guys are here, right?
Yeah, let's see. My favorite player this year is probably Eli. He's really nice, great personality. He's a great guy.
So any advice to these guys as they travel next week to play for a national championship?
I don't know. Win.
That's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
That's probably the best coaching advice you can give them, right? That's good. So you'll be watching all the games, right?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Good. Well, thank you for spending some time with us, Jordan, and thank you for supporting Storm basketball. So is this Robbie Sink? Okay, Robbie. Welcome. Robbie, you're the bus driver, right?
Correct.
So how long have you been a part of the Storm family?
Really just this year, but I am an alumni.
Okay.
I did graduate from there many moon ago, 85, I reckon it was.
85. So you followed this program since it started.
Correct.
14 years ago, right?
Yes, I read about it. I read about it every year, and I think, God, I've got to go see these guys play. And when they were putting those 130, 140 points on the board, I thought, that's unreal. So Mr. Kirk called me and asked me if I'd be available to drive, and I said, probably. So I worked it into my schedule, and here we are. So,
Now, are these trips, are these guys a rowdy bunch, or are they pretty calm?
well, it just depends. I mean, we've only had one loss. No, we've had two losses since this year when I drove. When we went to whatever the name of that one is up above Hickory and then Fayetteville. And that ride back was a little quiet. But all the other rides, they're pretty pumped up. And I guess they're watching the ball game or something because they're all talking about what they did and what's going on. So they're really a good group. They get along good. It seems like there's no arguing, and sometimes there's a fuss about who gets the Chick-fil-A sauce. But other than that, they're pretty good.
So any good stories that you can share with us? Your favorite story maybe as a bus driver?
I can't think of any. I mean, it's been my first year. It's just been a learning experience for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I told Mr. Kirk I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity, and I was glad I could help, and he seemed most appreciative also.
You've gotten them to all the games, right?
We got there safely. That's correct.
Because
We just got to get them to Charlotte on Sunday. We'll be all right.
I think we actually had the former bus driver was with us early on in the fall when we started these shows, and he was telling us a story about one time he was taken into a game, I think somewhere in Virginia, and actually couldn't find the place or got lost. So you made it. You got them to the games on time, which is great.
We got that Google map, and that'll get me there. I mean, we might get turned around a time or two, but we'll get there.
Okay, well, Robbie, one final thing for you. I'll give you an opportunity to give these young men a bit of advice or a comment about their travel next week.
Just keep doing what you've been doing. Play together, trust in each other, and 'cause it's amazing. I sit there and watch them play, and they'll throw a pass and somebody won't even be there. Then somebody's there. I mean, it's almost a miracle how much they know what each other's going to do, and it's been wonderful for me. I've enjoyed watching it, and I hope when I go pick them up a week from Sunday, we're bringing a trophy back.
Sounds like a plan to me. Well, Robbie, thank you for your time, for coming out and supporting Storm basketball, and for all you do for the program. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That's Robbie Sink. He's their bus driver. Essie Jones, family makes the dream work. Sending in Candace, your wife. That's right. Benita Jones again. Good advice from Jeremy. Pam Henderson, great advice. I know Eli supporter there, Isaiah supporter, and then Benita Jones. Thank you for getting them to and from the game safely, Robbie. That was for you. So that was fun.
Good group.
Yeah, it is a group. Good group. We've got some time left, right?
Outstanding.
Are you still good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Let's talk about the big thing now, right? We got the national tournament coming up. Can you tell the fans when you play and who do you play?
We play Tuesday at 1 o'clock at Danville Area Community College against Oakland. Oakland was the district winner in their region, and they've got a really good wing that can score at all three levels. They've got a big man that averages almost a double-double, so we've got our work cut out for us.
They are the Raiders, by the way, the Oakland Raiders. They play in a tough conference. I think they're in the Michigan Community College Athletic Association, and there's some really tough teams in that.
Yep, sure is, and I believe, they beat some tough teams to get here, so I think they've won 6 or 7 in a row, so they're pretty hot. I'm sure they're coming into this with a lot of confidence. So we've got to start off the first 5 minutes and make them feel uncomfortable, hopefully, out there in Danville.
So you've had a chance then already to scout and watch film, I'm sure.
I've watched 5 of their games. I plan on watching a few more in the next couple of days, but I do feel comfortable with the scout that we have. We've just got to go out there and execute and do what we do defensively.
As a coach, do you have I don't know if you have an advantage, but does it help you to prepare for this game because you've been here before?
Probably not. I mean, at the end of the day, I can tell the kids what to expect. But they're the ones, that go out there and play. I mean, coaches have always said get too much credit and blame. The kids are the ones out there scoring and playing D and rebounding. So it's all about these young men right here. It's not about me or whoever coaching. It's about those young men over there. And I'm so proud to be a part of this group because they do play really, really hard, especially defensively. And over the course of the season, they have gained trust in each other. For example, the shot you were talking about that Zay hit at Bryant Stratton, Javion penetrated and out of the corner of eye saw him and skipped it all the way across the court. Earlier in the season, I don't know that he would have done that. So it's awesome to see this group develop trust, because if Javion wouldn't have trusted Isaiah and he'd have forced up a bad shot, we could have lost in overtime. So that's just one example of how important it is that we can relate that to the real world and how important trust is in every relationship.
Now, you guys have never played at the Mary Miller Center. Is it difficult playing in a new arena for the first time? Is it difficult to adjust? And do you guys get a lot of shoot-around time before this tournament starts?
Well, they have 16 teams flying in or driving in. So on Monday, they've got to get 16 teams in that facility. So every team gets 30 minutes. And I've already told our guys, we're going to stretch in the hallway. I'm going to go over the practice plan, and we're going to hit that floor literally running, and we're going to get up as many shots as possible during that 30 minutes. I mean, Miles, just yesterday was our 114th practice. Think about that. 114 practices. You've got to come to Brinkley Gym and listen to me for 2 to 3 hours. So at this point, if they don't know what they're doing, I haven't done my job. So, these next couple of days, we're going to be going over the scout, how we're going to guard certain action. We're going to watch some film. And then we're going to go out there and we're going to tell these guys, when you're open, shoot the ball with supreme confidence. You have the right to miss, and it's okay to let it fly with supreme confidence and not worry about the doggone result.
A lot of the team here tonight supporting this, which is great to see. So they do listen. What about Region 10 Coach of the Year? What's it? 10 times here. Sorry about it. They need to change the name of that trophy. That's 10 times out of 14 years, Coach. So talk about the travel schedule. What are the logistics?
Well, Ken Kirk's done a lot of work behind the scenes. We'll be driving, I think Rodney said earlier, early Sunday morning he'll be driving us along with Larry, I believe, to Charlotte. We fly out of Charlotte around 9-ish, 9:30-ish, and we'll land in Indianapolis around 11:15 their time. And then we'll drive an hour and some change to Danville. So we should get in Danville around 12:30, 1 o'clock their time. And then the rest of the day, we'll kind of have some downtime, go out to eat. And then, of course, Monday we'll go and practice, and we'll have more film time at the hotel. And then, of course, Tuesday, 1 o'clock, we'll tip it up.
You guys have played brutal schedule down the stretch, a lot of games in the last couple of weeks. I know we lost Jaden Scriven to a knee injury a couple of weeks ago. How is he doing, by the way?
He's doing great. I mean, the surgery went really well. He had torn his meniscus, so unfortunately that ended his season for this year. But we fully expect him to recover and come back and be a big-time player for us next year.
So as far as the health of the rest of the team, how's everybody holding up?
Got a few guys with bangs and bruises, but this week I've given them 2 days off, one of which was today. So, I've learned in my 14 years at Davidson, if there's one thing you don't want to do this time of year, is over-practice, over-train. So we're going to have very short, intense practices these next 2 days, and we'll probably actually be in film longer than we will on the court. But hopefully we'll go out there fresh, not just physically, but mentally, and who knows what can happen. If we find a way to get it done 4 out of 5 days, we can bring something back here that we haven't ever brought back.
So a couple more comments for you, Coach. I want to say Dr. Darren Hartness sends in, thanks for such an excellent coverage this season. We're so proud of this team. Let's go take care of business in Danville. Keith Reese Jr., can't wait to get there, to get here. I guess he's coming next year. Actually, a young man emailed us during the ball game against Sandhills.
We're excited about Keith. We really are.
Great choice, by the way, Keith. Kip Childress, great show tonight. Coach Ridge and the many members of the Storm family, best of luck in the coming weeks. Pam Henderson, again, good luck, Storm. Prayers for safe travels. Go number 12, Isaiah. Heather Baumgartner-Branscombe from Tennessee tells us, good luck, Storm. We're so proud of you and thank you for a great season of exciting basketball. And then Benita Jones, safe travels and speedy recovery for Jaden Scriven. So we appreciate all of the text tonight. It was a great text night. So last question for you around the championship, and that is this. What would it mean to you to be able to have this team come back here with a national championship?
Well, every year that we've made it to the Nationals, 6 out of my 14 years, it's unbelievable the amount of publicity your college gets. In the last few days, we've had Fox 8 come out and WFMY News 2. They're both doing stories on us. And both of them asked me the same question you just asked me. And I'll tell you the same thing I told them. It sure would feel good to get this monkey off my back because we've won the region and the districts now, I guess, 6 times, but we've never won the national championship. And One of my goals is to bring it back. When I first got the job, I wrote down my goals, and the only one I haven't achieved is to bring back a national championship within my first 15 years at Davidson. This is year 14, so if I can meet that deadline in the next year or two, it would feel really, really good. But more importantly, it would be awesome to see this group of young men climb up that ladder and cut down those nets in Danville.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck. Take care of business. Let's go after Oakland. Let's take care of business here.
One game at a time.
Absolutely. So I think we're probably out of time, unless you you have other things you want to thank some folks, or any final comments.
Yeah,
Coach?
I want to thank Jared again, because without him, none of this would be possible. He has brought a whole new dimension to Storm Athletics with all the things he's done behind the scenes. So we got to get him on the show one night. And then, of course, Coach Mullis for the film work, Matt Jacobs for allowing us to use his restaurant. If you haven't eaten at the Eatery, you're missing out. You need to come out to the Eatery. It's light years above and beyond any Chipotle or anything like that you've eaten. And then, of course, I want to thank our administration, because they're behind us, not just in terms of emotionally, but financially. Our foundation is making this trip possible. So if there's anyone listening and you're willing to help us out going forward, we certainly could use some funds for a lot of different things. But for me personally, I'm trying to raise athletic scholarship money for other recruits to come in and continue our tradition.
Well, we appreciate you, Coach, and all that you do, and your other coaches for this program, for these young men, and changing their lives. You're having a huge effect on their lives. It's more than basketball. So we thank you for tuning us in tonight. We've got one more show, correct? So
April 29th.
So we'll do another show April 29th. That's when Jared's going to come over here. We're going to get Jared on, and we'll chat with Jared. Thank you, folks, for tuning us in. All the comments. This has been a great night, and again for the players and supporters coming out to see us here.
If there's anyone that wants to watch us while we're playing, you can click on the NJCAA network, and the game will pop up. I think they're not charging this year, so if you are interested, it's 1 p.m. Central Time, not Eastern Time, on Monday. If we are fortunate enough to win, the second game will be on Wednesday, I believe, at 6:30.
So Monday, let's cheer on the Storm against Oakland, against the Raiders, and we will see you back here on the 29th, and hopefully we'll have a lot of really good stuff to talk about. I'm sure we will. We'll have a lot of great stuff to talk about either way, but good luck to you, Coach.
Thank you so much, Miles. You've done a phenomenal job with this, as well as on game day. So I really appreciate you as well.
I appreciate being part of it. I tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been in this area doing stuff like this for 40 years, and I will be totally honest with you. This is the most fun I have had in a long time doing this. And again, when I watched you guys cut the nets down against Sandhills, I felt so proud to be part of this classy program and all that you guys are doing, and the family that you've got here. So thank you for inviting me in.
Well, you're part of our family now, so we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we'll see you on the 29th. Again, tune to Storm in Monday against Oakland. Appreciate being part of it. I tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been in this area doing stuff like this for 40 years, and I will be totally honest with you, this is the most fun I have had. So Monday, let's cheer on the Storm against Oakland, and I watched you guys cut the nets against the Raiders, Sandhills. I feel so proud to part back here on the 29th. This classic program, a lot of really good stuff to talk about. I'm sure we will. We'll have a lot of great stuff right away. Thank you so much. All right, folks, we'll see you on the 29th. Again,